Sponsorem programu jest TAURON, sprzedawca prądu, fotowoltaiki i ogrzewania.
Hello and welcome to the third round of TAURON Speedway Euro Championship. We're in Bydgoszcz. My name is Marcin Usual. I'm glad to guys have you here, and I'm more than happy to have Sam Emrolenko and David Rowe here, our commentary team. Hello guys, how are you today?
Nice,
Hi Marcin, good to be here.
Awesome, great to be in Bydgoszcz. It's always a great opportunity to watch some speedway here at Polonia Stadium. So David, what's the first thing that comes to mind when I say Polonia Bydgoszcz track?
The track is sensational. The big meetings that have been run here over the years, the Grand Prix, the World Cups. The first time I came here was the World Cup in 2014 when Denmark won it on the last bend against Janusz Kowodze when Niels Christian Iversen passed him. The atmosphere all night was sensational. Then of course Denmark won it. But I think you've seen so many memories over the years down here, and the work they've done in recent years to rebuild, to build new facilities, incredible and great to see big time racing back here.
What about riders? What's the first name that comes to mind?
Thomas Gollop, quite clearly, and the number of times...
Sorry, Sam.
The number of times that you saw Thomas Gollop maybe have a bad first ride and then change something or change bike, and then he would come out and just absolutely smash everyone. So yeah, absolute legend.
Sam, you were a rider here at Polonia between 1992 and 1994. Great time for you.
I taught Thomas everything he knows.
So how was it racing with Thomas Gollop? Did you really guys not like each other even though you were on the same team?
No, we never had any problems. Actually, if anything, I probably helped his program out a bit because it was difficult for the Polish riders in the beginning, if you can imagine getting some of the Western equipment.
Yep.
So I was their kind of package guy that delivered stuff. Jacek Gołop and both Thomas, you know, I think they would probably say the same thing. In the early days, they learned a lot from the Western guys.
Wild times, the 90s here in Poland, definitely.
And it was, I actually revisited. It's the first time I've been here and seen the new block of the stands and the pits and everything. And I got a tour of the old offices and met the new owners that are running the place. And it brings back really good memories.
How was the autograph session?
Oh, it's
ahead
amazing.
Of the meeting?
Yeah, there was a lot of folk there, and it was good. And they had a table set up. I just jumped down on the ground and took photographs and signed autographs. It was good.
Trust me, I'm not exaggerating when I say that plenty of fans here in the stands today have Sam's posters on their wall, or maybe they had it back in the day, in the 90s. So, well, I'm sure you have plenty of great memories and some great racing that you remember from Polonia Stadium for sure.
It was a special track because it was one that, you know, they got an inside line, and a lot of the riders will think that's what you do, like you normally do, follow the inside. But this track is probably more the other way. You got to follow the outside fence because the line comes up quite quick coming out, especially turn 2, and it can catch riders out, and they have to turn twice coming out of the corner. So it's pretty unique, and if you've been here before and raced, you kind of understand how the track works, but it will catch a lot of guys out.
David, fill us in on the conditions today when it comes to the weather and the track.
Well, obviously a very hot day. We've had a hot few days, in fact, so same as in most places around Europe, to be honest. So track conditions look good. The boys are out on practice at the moment on the warm-up, and I think we should be set for a tremendous meeting. We had two good ones when the series was here in 2020 and 21. Leon Madsen, of course, won both, so he'll be confident tonight, but I think there'll be nothing to surprise the riders here tonight. They'll all know what to expect. Should be in for a great night.
We'll focus on Leon Madsen in just a second, but we need to do a shout-out to our sponsor, which is the Kujawian and Pomeranian. That's a hard word to say, easier to visit than to say it. The province, shout out to them. It's actually a great place for speedway as well. 3 cities with TAURON, Grudziądz and Bydgoszcz, with top-tier teams in Grudziądz and TAURON. So definitely, if you want to visit Poland and see some speedway, some great speedway, visit Bydgoszcz and the province. And let's watch the clip from our sponsor.
Sport zaczyna się tu i teraz. Województwo kujawsko-pomorskie.
So like I mentioned before, it's the third round of Speedway Euro Championship this year. We're halfway through the season, and Mikkel Mikkensel is doing fantastic. What about Leon Madsen? I wasn't in Gistrow. I know you were. So what happened in Gistrow?
I think Leon Madsen had a disaster night, to be fair. And it seems to happen more often than not, because he was doing so well last year and was pretty consistent. But this year, things have plagued him. I mean, he had a terrible Grand Prix in Cardiff. So Gustro was just one of those things. It might have been the time when maybe he needed to start thinking about something different, or maybe he's overthinking.
So Gustro has never been Madsen's favorite, but Bydgoszcz has.
Yes.
Yeah, very much so. Gustav Madsen normally gets to the final, doesn't win it. To only score the number of points, I think it was 4 points in Gustav, and he lost so many to Mikkelsen, and Mikkelsen didn't win the meeting, but Kawadze won it. But for Mikkelsen, that was a big win. To be 9 points in front at this stage, that's a healthy lead to defend with 2 rounds to go. But we've seen it before. We've seen riders get reeled in towards the end, so whether it's Madsen or you've got the likes of Lebedevs and Varina going well, Dudek also, if one of them has a really big one tonight, 17, 18 points, then that lead could be reeled back in, because Mikkelsen himself, there'll be some pressure on him. He knows this is his best way to make it into the Grand Prix for next year, is to win this series. He's got that 9-point lead, but it's up to him now. Does he defend it, or does he go on the attack and try and win the meeting?
So he has scored 29 points so far. Usually it's 53, 56 in 4-round series to win the championship. What does he need to do today? Is it about securing the first position, or is it about scoring as many points as possible? What should Mikkelsen focus on?
I think Mikkelsen right now, and I don't think it'd be out of sight to say that he's rebuilt his season. I don't think he was happy the way things started off. He's rebuilt it, got himself back into a position, and his focus, I think, right now is just to make sure don't let nothing distract him at all. Even though he's pitted right next to Leon Madsen, how's that work? You know what I mean? He's got to look at that and then go out there and perform. So he's just got to bring it all in right now and just be consistent.
Funny that you mentioned that, because it's literally just a few steps away from where we're standing, and Leon Madsen is right next to, side by side to Mikkelsen. Do you think that there is some psychological advantage to Mikkelsen sitting right next to Madsen and looking at him every time he makes a mistake, because now every mistake counts more than ever for Leon Madsen?
I'm never quite sure about the relationship, because now of course they race for the same team in Poland anyway at Czestochowa, but there has been a good rivalry over the years. We saw them clash here actually a couple of years ago in the final, and these have been the two riders who have dominated really in recent years, and one of them likely is going to become the first rider to win this series 3 times. So there is pressure. There must be a rivalry. There must be an element of not wanting to give too much away. But I think for Madsen, it's got to be win-win-win. You talked about the points totals. His maximum is 56. So Mikkelsen will have 57 in his mind. Can he score 28 more points from these 2 rounds? Whatever Madsen does, he's champion. So they're going to have those numbers in mind. I think maybe slightly more than winning a meeting. Make sure you get as many points as you can.
Glad you mentioned that, because Mikkelsen, Leon Madsen, and Emil Seifurin have won SEC championship twice. While we were looking at Leon Madsen and Mikkelsen leading the table, but we'll talk about a little bit more about Andrzej Lebiedev and Janusz Kołodziej in just a second. But Sam, just one more thing about Mikkelsen. I think he mentioned on Instagram that he was testing in Cardiff. It doesn't ever happen that a GP rider is testing something at the GP, but he said that he's basically wasted the whole season in the GP anyway. So what do you think he was looking for?
Well, if that was his statement, then what it comes down to is Cardiff is a place where you just don't know if you should be bringing what we consider a soft motor or a strong motor to get around that track. It could be either one of those, could be the one that's the right combination, and maybe he tried something that he's never tried before, or maybe he's rebuilt his program because he's had a kind of not a solid start to his speedway season. I would think that if he's testing things, then obviously that's his way of saying, at least I know I could be better than that if I didn't have whatever the testing program was.
I see. We spoke about Gistrov, and plenty of things happened there. Mikkelsen was the only rider to make it to the final. He's the only rider in the series to make it to both of the finals, in Częstochowa and in Gistrov. So let's watch the recap of Gistrov from a month ago. We saw Janusz Kołodziej there at the podium. So he missed out on the first round due to an injury. So what do you think can Kołodziej do in the last 2 rounds in Bydgoszcz and in Pardubice?
I think he just keeps winning races.
Yeah.
I think he's riding on a high right now to go and win the round at Łódź in the Polish final against good riders. You know, he's just riding right there at that level where he wants to be, and he seems to be, as we've talked about earlier, the old guy with the experience, and he's got the right combination right now. So I think he'll be one of the guys here that will probably want to go out there and win this one.
David, do you think it's possible to win the Euro Championship when you missed out on out of 4 rounds?
I think that's very difficult, especially with the strength of Mikkelsen. We did see Gregory Laguta many years ago came very close, missing 1 round. I think it was 2016. Didn't quite do so. But I think there's no reason why Kołodziej can't be in the top 3, certainly top 5. He's got Güstrow sorted out, where several of the others haven't. And to win that back-to-back seasons and the scores he's been putting in there, 17 points, dropped 1 point all night. So he's found something at Güstrow that works where nobody else can. And as Sam said, the consistency he's showing late in his career, he gets better and better, and surely he'll be a big factor here tonight.
Does he deserve a spot in the GP, Sam?
You know, if he wins it, if he won the Euro Championship, sure he does. Everybody does it wins. But, you know, to outright put him in there, I think that would be probably a bit of a hard case for him, because he's got to go back and step up to a bigger game. But if he wins it and gets in there, then that's his own accomplishment. You got to think that he's up for it.
It's difficult, isn't it, with Wozniak having qualified from the GP Challenge, that there aren't that many spaces available for Polish riders. But I don't think there's any doubt Kołodziej's a better rider now than he was when he was a Grand Prix rider, 5 years ago?
2019, 2019. He won Prague, but the rest of the season was just horrible for him. But so we saw it last year in Pardubice when Janusz Kołodziej was really close to win the whole thing. But I don't think he was ready for it mentally. He collapsed during the meeting, obviously,
you know,
metaphorically.
There's a couple of guys you could probably pick out of this series where they have the ingredients and they do it, but they just don't finish the job, do they?
Yep.
And Kołodziej's one of those guys too, but we've seen this year where he's doing it. So, you know, we've heard Cegielski say that he works really hard in his workshops, on the engine he's involved. So it's working for him.
See, one of the riders who's living for big moments is Leon Madsen, definitely. He likes the responsibility and all eyes focused on him.
But you can say that with Leon Madsen, though. Is it his failure right now? Because he's having some bad runs. You know, is he overthinking things? That's what I highlight anyway.
I think when you've had such a good run for so long, eventually it will end. And to do, I think it was 10 finals on the trot, and we've seen him win here a couple of times and just been such a consistent winner. Eventually, I think everyone has a bad day. And I know Sam's absolutely right. It's not been quite going right for him in the Grand Prix either. So you have these spells, don't you? But the key is to try and come through it. First job is to protect his top 5 spot to be in this series. But I'm sure he's got his eye on having a good one tonight and putting some pressure on.
I was walking by earlier by his pits, and I said something, and one of the mechanics says, "Yeah, we're trying something again." So what's that mean?
Interesting, because he's actually doing really well in the playoffs in Polish Extraliga. So the entire season wasn't that good. I mean, it wasn't bad, it wasn't good. It was just Leon Madsen. I think he was 6th rider in the league when it comes to his average. But the last 3 meetings in Poland were just spectacular. He's the best rider at the moment in Polish Extraliga. So why would he looking for anything?
Exactly. Maybe this testing has come here.
Okay.
You know, maybe he's figured something out now. He's ready for it, and this is it. So Bydgoszcz is another good track. If you got something working good, it will work, won't it? And that's probably where he's at.
That only shows you how much Speedway changes from year to year, because Leon Madsen had what you're describing 2 years ago. Last time we were here in Bydgoszcz and he won it. So let's watch the clip from Bydgoszcz 2021 TAURON Speedway European Championship.
Double champion Leon Madsen needs a big result in Bydgoszcz to keep his title hopes alive, and this is definitely a venue which has proved successful for him in the past. The TAURON Speedway Euro Championship has raced twice here, and Madsen has won both meetings. In 2020, the Dane was battling for the title with Robert Lambert. He won the opening 3 rounds. The second of those was here, and it featured a great race with his rival Mikkel Mikkelsen in Heat 3, and the two changed places on several occasions behind Gregory Laguta, Madsen eventually taking the second place. Later in the meeting, he had to go through the last chance. He did so, then outgated Mikkelsen, Laguta and Saifudinov in the final to take the victory. The following year was the opening round of the series, and it came down to a very dramatic finish. Madsen and Mikkelsen were fighting for 3rd place in the final, and they clashed on lap 3. Mikkelsen was excluded, and in the rerun, Madsen passed Piotr Pawlicki to take his 7th victory in his Speedway Euro Championship meeting. So Madsen returns now looking to complete a hat-trick in Bydgoszcz, and after a tough night in Güstrow scoring just 4 points, it's absolutely crucial for his title chances.
One more thing we need to talk about here in the studio is the wild card Szymon Woźniak, a local favorite.
Absolutely, yeah.
So he's having a fantastic season, doesn't he?
Yeah, he's been surprising himself probably because he's going so well, and maybe he's come of age now where he feels he can probably get on the start line with any top rider and at least have a go.
Yeah. He was really impressive, obviously in Czestochowa in round 1, and then the GP Challenge in Gislaved. I was out there watching the meeting, and he'd had a crash actually beforehand and wasn't even sure he could ride. He practiced and said, I don't really feel right here, but I'm going to give it a go. And he went all the way through and qualified, and he's riding heat 20 to make it from last to first on the second bend. That was worthy of qualifying for a Grand Prix, so he has nothing to lose here. He'll come in and certainly get involved, and it could well be up at the front again.
Yeah, so he was a first reserve in Częstochowa. Now he's a wild card. Obviously not an entire season for him, so it's going to be very difficult for Szymon Woźniak to fight for a medal. But I think he's capable of it.
He wants to go out there and prove that he's in good form, I think, and that's really good. Yeah.
He's kind of replacing Wiktor Przyjemski, who unfortunately got injured. So Dave, it's a shame because Przyjemski would have been a favorite.
I was looking forward to seeing him here because I've not seen him ride live myself. I've seen obviously him on television, seen what he does in the league for Bydgoszcz, and I'm sure the fans would have loved to have seen him in this competition. But his time will come. He's young. He will hopefully he'll recover very quickly. Looked a very nasty crash, so he has to get himself right. It's a shame for Bydgoszcz too in the league. I know that, but when you're injured, you're injured. You can't try. There is a point at which you have to say no. So. Okay, he's pulled out, but I'm sure sometime in the future we will see him in this competition.
Oh yeah, I'm sure he's going to be a world champion too, under 21 champion. Mark my words, it's happening. It's just Czerniak Volume 2.
He's the rider that Poland fear is the future. He's the one that they have the biggest hopes for.
Yep. So here in Bydgoszcz, people say that he's just another Tomasz Golob, but I think it's too early for an 18-year-old to hear that he's just another Tomasz Golob. I mean, there's only one Tomasz Golob.
And Tomasz Golob took a long time to be that good, didn't he? It took a long time for him to get in that world championship before he actually won one, and to prove he's one of the best. So, there's a good place in Poland for a lot of good speedway. There's a lot of good tracks here. It's amazing how the sport just keeps building up here, and for somebody like that to be in his prime as an 18-year-old and still got a big future still in front of him.
Let's talk about some other names here that are really close to the podium. I mean, Lebiedev is third, and then Boryna is following his footsteps. He's right next to him in the general standings. So what do you think will happen? Because we have Andrzej Lebiedev, obviously he's got the experience from 2017 SEC when he won the whole thing. So who do you think might come second, third? Who's in the leading the race for the third position in the series?
I'll put my neck out there and say Lebedev's. I think Lebedev's is the guy at the moment. He just seems to be picking the right meetings and getting good success. I was in Germany when he rode an individual, and he had to work hard to win the final, and he did. And then I seen him in Cardiff, and he was riding extremely good. Okay, he didn't come out on top anywhere, but he was riding the track really well. So, this is going to be one of those ones where I think he's rebuilt his year now, and he's been champion before. And he never even won one of the rounds when he won his championship. I think it was in 2017. Yeah, so, he's got the ingredients. He's just got to go out there and prove it.
I think it was a big result for him to make the final in Güstrow because it had been so long since he'd made one. So that's one barrier, if you like, he's gone through.
Yep.
We've generally seen him have one or two good rides per meeting, but now he's putting together four good rides per meeting. That makes it much more straightforward, and it's good to see him back in the frame, certainly for top 5, and who knows, top 3.
Any other names you want to mention ahead of the meeting?
Well, there's a heck of a lot of guys that I think, we mentioned earlier on that they have a good one, they have a bad one, they have a good one. There's a fleet of guys that got double figures right now that could have a good one today. So
I think Dimitri Berger is one of the names that we need to follow today.
He knows this track very well and had a big score here in the league earlier in the season. So, yes, he's definitely a rider who, if he makes starts, he'll be hard to pass.
Oh, absolutely. I think he was at Polonia 2018 to 2020, so definitely knows the track. But like you said, the track might have changed in those couple of years.
And it's a warm day today. There's going to be a lot of factors on when they water the track.
Yep.
Because some riders will get the draw where they get, the right after the watering in their gate position. So all these factors. And Dave and I try to bring that to the program to show the fans, it might not be that they have the best gate or the worst gate, but the rider's got a challenge if he's on a racetrack when the track's not perfect.
Well, thank you guys for all of your opinions. Obviously, our fans and viewers will hear your voices at 8 p.m. Central Eastern Standard Time. So let's make sure you guys get the pay-per-view. Thank you for being with us here on Facebook and YouTube live ahead of the Bydgoszcz round of TAURON Speedway European Championship. If you'd like to watch it in your country, and there's a list, I'm sure, down below where you can watch it. There you go, with the name of TV channels where you can watch it. If you don't see your country here, make sure you get our pay-per-view with Sam and David at the commentary box. Anything you guys want to add before we finish
No,
the
we're
job?
just looking for a good event right here. I think the track's in good condition, considering how warm it is.
We've got 2 great events coming up today and also in the Czech Republic in just over a week's time. So 2 big meetings to complete this series. May the best man win.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. David Rowe, Sam and Morenko. We'll see you guys later.
Sponsorem programu był Tauron, sprzedawca prądu, fotowoltaiki i ogrzewania.